I'm sure I would regret selling this truck like so many others I searched and eventually sold. I bought this last year to be my daily driver for local trips after my full-size fuel-injected 1989 Bronco broke down 6 trips in a row and I had no clue what was wrong. So I wanted to get out of the 80s and back into the 60s and 70s where it was simple and pollution-free drivetrains. In high school I had a 1963 Wagoneer with a Chevy 327, so I looked for a Wagoneer with an original Buick V8.
So I've decided to move on and get rid of my daily driver, and I'm going to be picking up a Jeep Cherokee with an LS2 Corvette engine and a 5-speed, so I'm going to pass on the Redneck Edition. I know everybody likes to see a cold start, and I like to see a cold start. So the car's been sitting for about 2 days. I'm going to put the key in ignition. I'll show you that the warning lights and everything show up like they should, and we'll show you how it starts when it's been sitting for about 2 days. So there are the lights. There you have your 2 lights. I'll pump the gas pedal a couple times and I will turn the key. And it starts right up. And the lights go out, and that's the choke that's on it. And I will let it warm up for a couple of minutes. And you can see it's running. And there's our temperature gauge. Right there. We have now 65,348 miles. Now my foot is off the gas and it's now idling. And at this point I can place it in drive and we can go. And it'll drive without stalling. So all I've done so far is just come around the court. We just started the car literally about 20 seconds ago. And you can see, ice cold. It runs pretty smooth for a car that's been sitting for a couple of days, and it's a quiet engine. And it shifts through all the gears. And it's just a pleasure to drive. So it's been about a minute. And as you see, I can push on the gas. There's no popping, there's no backfiring. It accelerates nice and smoothly. There's the temperature gauge after running for about a minute. And now we're cruising down the highway in the local area at about 35 miles an hour. We'll come to a complete stop and I'll show you how it accelerates. Now we're at complete stop. You can hear the idles a little bit high because it's warming up. And it stops on a dime and there's no pulling. When I put my foot on the brake, you can see it just stops and it tracks nice and straight. Now it's about 2 minutes since we had the cold start. You can see the temperature gauge is starting to creep up a little bit. It's now idling at about 600 RPMs and we're waiting at a traffic light. And off we go. Give it the gas. You can see there's not a miss or a hesitation in it. If you look at the steering wheel, there's not a shimmy or a vibration in it. Tracks perfectly straight. It's got a nice smooth ride. Not bad for a truck that's from 1970 to 52 years old. They really don't make doors like this anymore. When you go to close the door, it has a nice positive sound to it. You can actually hear that. It's like a refrigerator. Pops right open. Same thing on this door. They just close beautifully.
This 1970 Jeep Wagoneer now has approximately 65,225 miles on the odometer, and it could be the actual mileage. It drives and functions like a 65,000-mile truck from 1970. But due to COVID with no place to go, I've been averaging about 100 miles a week since December of 2020. The previous owner claimed it was his wife's daily driver, At that time, he replaced the gas tank, fuel pump, brake lines, and some other miscellaneous parts to make it safe and reliable. When I received the Wagoneer, I had my mechanic do a compression test, and all the cylinders were between 135 and 150. The plugs were pulled and they looked great, so I recoiled the radiator due to a little bit of green corrosion on the lower fins and replaced the coolant lines. I also installed electronic ignition, rebuilt the carburetor, replaced the battery, and put 4 new tires on it to ensure it would be reliable. Prior to the last owner, the car was repainted with a paint roller and marine bottom paint. The frame and floors appear to be solid and intact. Therefore, my plan was to restore the truck or wrap it with a wrap. But then I put a couple of decals on it and some redneck stickers, and it's been fun to drive and show as is. This truck is all there and can be used as is or restored without searching for missing trim or the parts that you need to put a car together. It had a custom-made plexiglass back window, so I found a solid tailgate in California with a manual glass window, and I replaced the original tailgate. I tracked down the spare tire carrier and support, so the spare tire is now mounted under the back. I'm moving on to a Restomod 92 Jeep Cherokee with an LS2 5-speed, so if you need additional information, see the listing below in the description of this YouTube listing, or reach out to me and I'll get back to you. Thank you and have a great day.